Does she have friends?
No, but nobody does in
Okay,
2019 dystopian Los Angeles.
right. No, well, or any year in Los Angeles.
Hello and welcome to The Girlfriend, The Nag, The Sex Object, The Podcast. I'm Kat Reinhart. I am Kat Reinhart. I forgot my identity. Who
You
am
forgot the
I?
name of our podcast.
You what?
You forgot the name of our podcast.
Did you catch that? I did forget the name
Of
of our
course I caught that
podcast.
because it's not a name. That's not my name. That's not my name. Listen, it's 5 a.m. for Kat. Let's forgive her. Start over.
Thank you. It is. It's 5 a.m. I am Kat Reinhart. I am a writer, director, mother of two, and it is 5 a.m. for me. And I got up at 4:30 to do a little makeup and record this podcast with Maria because as a mom of two, and I'm working right now on an editing gig. So this is the only window time I have. Let's pray that my 20-month-old does not wake up and in this early. Maria, who are you?
I'm Maria Shahada. I'm a comedian. I'm based in London, and I have all the time in the world.
But you don't. You're busy too. And I try really hard to not be one of those parents who's like a gatekeeper of busy schedules for people who don't have kids. 'Cause people will be like, "Oh, I didn't know how busy I was or how not busy I was until I had children."
Yeah, I know, but I always feel bad when I'm like, "God, I'm so tired. You know, I only got 8 hours last night." My friends who are parents are just like, "Yeah?"
Yeah. So the concept of the podcast is every week, Maria and I bring each other a movie. Sometimes it's a movie the other has seen, sometimes it's not. And we discuss the female characters and how they aged, metaphorically, not the actresses literally. Although I'm sure there's someone out there who's doing that too.
Sure. So you're doing the movie this week. What are we
Yes.
gonna talk about?
So this week we have a theme. So because we have Valentine's Day coming up, I thought it'd be fun if you and I each did the favorite movie of our significant other. I am married. I have a husband. His name is Dave. He's a LA County public defender and he's great. And you have a partner, Johnny. You've been together for 7 years. And so I thought it would be fun to ask them what their favorite movie is, and we would watch their favorite movie and discuss the female characters. And Maria, you're going first.
Well, Johnny's favorite movie is There Will Be Blood, and the problem is that there are no meaningful female characters in it.
I'm going to Google that real quick. Female characters in There Will Be Blood.
There will be no women. Female characters.
There Will Be Blood 2007 is famously male dominated, but there are a few female characters, one named Mary Sunday, who is mostly silent. And then Ruth Sunday has no narrative agency.
Yeah, so
Seen briefly. Wives and townspeople in crowd or church scenes. So there's various unnamed women is the third character.
various unnamed women is what we should have called our podcast.
Wait,
Just as a
various
reflection of our
unnamed.
career.
Wait, okay, that's my new pitch for our podcast.
I just pitched it. You can't pitch it.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm underlining it. Yes, I'm sorry. Various unnamed women. Because we were gonna call it Slut and Bar because that is also a
That's a credit in one of the roles in Kingpin.
yeah, Slut and Bar. And then we were gonna call it Hooker number 3 because it's kinda the same thing, but I think Various Unnamed Women is
It's so good.
that's
Uh,
so good.
but yeah, There Will Be Blood is Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis is intense. I think the person who originally played Eli quit because Daniel Day-Lewis like actually hit him because there's a scene where they fight, but he actually hit him, and so he quit.
Didn't Daniel Day-Lewis leave acting and become a shoemaker?
I don't know, but that seems that's
That's all right. After he assaulted his co-star. Well, I'm gonna not add There Will Be Blood to my watch list. I don't really like
no, you
watching.
should absolutely watch it, but
I
just
I
not for
know
this
I should actually watch it,
podcast.
but I don't like watching good movies. Like my producers for my movie that I hope to make this year, they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna have this meeting with this production company, and you need to be ready with like, what are your favorite movies you've seen the past couple years?" And I'm like, K-pop Demon Hunters, like nothing, like there's not like all the good movies that came out last year, I didn't watch any of them because when I have time to myself, I don't want to watch a good movie because I'm gonna be jealous I didn't make it, or it's sad. Good movies are usually sad. They're not usually funny, and I wanna watch something that I just completely can just clock out of. Like, there's some Kim Kardashian TV show that's supposed to be really bad, and I'm like, I can't remember what it's called. I wanna
Oh,
watch
yeah.
that. That's what
Yeah.
I wanna
Well,
watch.
isn't he gonna judge you if you're, like, K-pop in that Kim
Yeah,
Kardashian
well,
TV show?
he's like, "Well, it's for a meeting with a production company, and so I need to come in and be impressive. I need to be like, I really
I
love sentimental value because of blah, blah, blah," you know?
Yeah, well, I think you should have one, like, a Nora type movie, and then you should have, like, a Flash Gordon, just to
Yeah,
show that
well
you have range and that you're funny.
yeah, well, I was thinking about just being honest and being like, "Look, like, I don't like to watch good movies," but yeah, but I'm going to like, sentimental value, Hamnet, if I had, like a Kick You. There's another one about a train. There's, like, just all the movies that are, like, the Oscar buzzy movies. I need to go watch those. I need to know what's happening, but I just don't wanna sit down and watch a good movie unless it's funny. But
Okay.
so, speaking of watching movies, so Friday night, Dave and I sat down together after the girls went to sleep, and I actually drank coffee at work, and at, like, 7 p.m. before I left my editing gig, I, like, chugged a bunch of coffee so that I wouldn't fall asleep because usually I fall asleep during movies when I watch them with Dave whenever we have time, so it was very romantic. We drank our big gulps from 7-Eleven. We're just like we live in Van Nuys, sometimes we're trash, and we sat down and we watched Dave's favorite movie for our Valentine's Day episode, and his favorite movie is Blade Runner.
Nice. I've
The
never seen
direct
Blade Runner.
What?
I've never seen it.
I actually okay, so what's interesting, I think this is actually really interesting, I think. So there's Dave told me all this. I felt like he was, like, mansplaining it all to me, but not mansplaining because I needed to know this information. What's that when a man just tells you information and it's okay?
Oh,
Conversation? So just a conversation.
yeah. What is it when men speak to you and you don't wanna hit them? What is that? What is that? Is that connecting?
It was like a
I think
date,
we're already, like I think men think we hate them, and we
well, they
don't.
definitely do because I mean, this podcast doesn't help anything.
That's what I mean. Just some of the comments we get, it's just like, I don't hate you. I don't."
Yeah, you didn't make this movie. Our beef isn't with you. So, anyway, we were having a conversation where he was telling me stuff. I watched Blade Runner in film school. It's a phenomenal movie. It's beautiful. The cinematography is unreal. It's worth watching. I won't say on silent because the score and the sound design is also so important, but just every shot is unbelievable. And I cannot stand over the shoulders. I just think it's the laziest shot in cinema. My first movie is a lot of over the shoulders. I don't want a single over the shoulder in anything I make ever again. And now I pay attention to it when I'm watching other movies and Blade Runner, you start watching it, I'm like, I bet this movie doesn't have any over the shoulders. And it doesn't.
Wait, can I ask you, what is it that you hate about Over the Shoulders? Is it you think it's just a lazy choice from directors?
I don't want to call another director or another cinematographer lazy, but I just don't like it. I just think you could come up with something else. The Coen brothers do this a lot, and I noticed it in Blade Runner. When there's two people talking, instead of the camera just sitting on one of their shoulders, the camera was in between them. So you're on their face, so you're inside the conversation versus on the outside of the conversation. And I think that makes a big difference. I just don't like it though. I just think it's ugly. I think the shot is ugly. I don't want to look at somebody's shoulder
Yeah, it's
unless
true.
it's like the most beautiful
That's all I'm
shoulder.
gonna see now. Next time I see over the shoulder shots, that's all I'm gonna be like, "Get their shoulder out of my face."
You know who else I haven't seen it really ever? Woody Allen movies. I know Woody Allen is problematic, but he's a good filmmaker. His movies are so dialogue driven.
Yeah, I
Even
mean, he started in, like, theater, right? Like, he started writing plays,
mm, I think
but
so. So Blade Runner. There's 5 cuts. The director's cut is shorter than the studio cut,
hmm,
which is really interesting. But one of the biggest differences between the studio released cut and the director's cut is early screenings of the movie, test audiences were confused. So the studio was like, I know what we need. We need a narration. So they brought Harrison Ford back in and he recorded a narration where he just explains every scene in this tone that doesn't match the tone of the movie at all. And it just completely destroys the movie. And then they cobbled together this horrible not horrible, I mean, they cobbled together a different ending. So there's this garbage narration, and then there's something they call the happy ending that is a different ending from Ridley Scott's intended ending, and it's, like, pretty bonkers. It's, like, aerial shots from The Shining Like, Ridley Scott, like, got shots from his friend's movie, and then with the moment they added and shot it, and it's really bad, but it's just classic studio getting in the way of a director's vision, and people found out years later after Blade Runner premiered in theater with bad narration and the happy ending, and they clamored for the director's cut, and that was released, and that what's gone on to become so well known and so beloved. So it's like the Snyder cut, clamoring for the Snyder cut before the internet. Somehow this happened, like, in the '90s.
Wait, when did the movie come out?
1982. So Blade Runner came out in 1982. It's directed by Ridley Scott. The screenplay was written by Hampton Fancher and David Peoples, and it was based loosely on the 1968 dystopian novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by acclaimed science fiction writer Philip K. Dick. But Dave said, interestingly enough, he hates the book, and
Okay.
it's very loosely based. It's like not close at all to the movie, which I don't know if that's true. It was made in 1982, but it's set in the year 2019
Oh, okay.
in Los Angeles. So it's the year 2019. We're in Los Angeles, but it's this dystopian.
By the way, had you seen Blade Runner before
I
this?
had seen Blade Runner before. I saw it in film school years ago. I didn't really remember anything about it, but like that it had cool shots and an interesting score. And then I said to Dave I hadn't seen it, and he reminded me that we had watched it another time. So it had been a while. I didn't remember anything about it except I thought there was one female character in it. I thought it was Daryl Hannah. I remember Daryl Hannah being in it. There's actually a bigger, more prominent female character than that, which I was embarrassed that I could just completely forgot about. But
Johnny's always reminding me, and we've seen things.
oh,
So
okay, so
we
it's not
watched
just
that.
me.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"What is it?"
Yeah, because I was like, "Yeah, I haven't seen it since film school," and Dave was like, "We've watched it together."
No memory of that whatsoever.
Nope. No. But okay, so I'll do the plot real quickly, and then we'll go into the female characters. It's a bleak, overcrowded future, and there's bioengineered androids called replicants, and those serve as slave labor in off-world colonies. But the replicants, they look and they seem like humans. You can't tell the difference on sight between a replicant and a human. So the replicants, they used to be on Earth, but there was an uprising and the humans hunted them down and killed them all. And when you kill a replicant, you don't call it killing them, you call it retiring them because they're not people. They're bioengineered androids. They're robots, but they look and seem like people. You can't tell the difference unless you are a Blade Runner, which is Harrison Ford's character. So Harrison Ford's character, his name is Rick Deckard. He is a former, now retired Blade Runner. He used to hunt and retire replicants. And there's a test you give the replicants where you ask them questions and you look at their eyeballs, you look at their irises to try to determine if they feel empathy. Because if you have feelings, you're not a replicant. That there's a little bit of a problem in that replicants over time, they adapt and they learn how to have feelings.
So if you kill a replicant that has feelings, you've just killed it and not retired it.
Well, that's the question.
Okay.
That what's so
I'm surprised
beautiful.
I followed this far, to be honest, because like, sci-fi is not my thing at all. So I'm just like, is it like these, like, words make my brain go,
Right. Well, what's funny is like sci-fi isn't my thing at all either, but the questions this movie asks and what it says about humanity is actually so profound that it was wonderful. It was wonderful to watch with Dave and then like discuss afterwards. I think the question this movie really asks is what makes a human human. It was also interesting to watch this in the age of AI because this movie is going to become more and more prescient and more spot on. But basically, like replicants are not allowed on Earth anymore. And so they have these Blade Runners who are cops. There's so many like lenses you could watch this movie through, like Blade Runners being like ICE agents trying to get out people that the administration doesn't think are human.
how many of these replicants are running around?
Well, on Earth right now, none that they know of, but there used to be a lot, but they've retired all of them and now they work as slave labor in off-world colonies. So
Okay.
they're around, but they're just working off-site. And Harrison Ford used to hunt them, but now he's retired. So he's just like hanging around this bleak, shitty Los Angeles, very, very dystopian. The cinematography really paints this like really dystopian future where you really don't want to live here. And so we meet Harrison Ford. He's pulled back into service as a Blade Runner by his former boss. Captain Bryant because 4 replicants called Nexus 6 replicants have illegally returned to Earth. They jumped on a ship, they killed a bunch of people, and now they're back on Earth. So Harrison Ford's character gets pulled back in to go hunt down these 4 replicants, find them, retire them. Harrison Ford is like, when the guy pulls him into his office, Harrison Ford's like, I'm retired. I don't want to do this. And the guy's like, you have no choice.
The denial of the call.
The denial of the call. But what I thought was interesting was what he's like, you have no choice. So, or he's like, you're saying I don't have a choice. And he's like, right.
You're supposed to like want to do it.
Well, you're
Eventually
supposed
come
to want to
around
do it, but
to it.
I thought it was interesting because it's like, oh, he's a slave. Because a lot of the questions of the movie is like, who's a human and who's a slave.
Oh.
So I thought
Oh,
that was
that's
interesting.
good.
I thought that was
Sorry.
interesting when he was like, "You're saying I don't have a choice," and it's like, well, now he's a slave. So
Mhm.
who's human?
Right. I don't have my mind wrapped around this whole replicant thing. Do they look like humans?
They look like humans.
So you could be talking to somebody and like they're a robot, but you don't know.
You don't know. You have no idea. You can't tell. The only way that you can tell is like they have a test where they ask them a bunch of questions about empathy. And depending on if they're able to show empathy through this test, it's like a lie detector test, but instead of like hooking you up to your body, it's like they look at your iris, and I might be saying that cornea. Basically, they ask you questions to invoke empathy, where a human being would answer with empathy. And the replicants can't answer with empathy because they don't have empathy. But one of the problems with the replicants is that they eventually, over time, develop human like feelings and they develop empathy. And so there's a built in failsafe to take care of that problem, which is that they only live for 4 years.
Okay.
Because if they live past 4 years, they develop too many real human feelings. So at 4
Don't
years,
you think like it's funny because
they
it's
die.
like what if they just don't have any references to anything? Because if they've only been around for 4 at most years, then somebody could just bring up like any pop culture reference from the 50s. Wait, what year are we in? 2019?
29.
Yeah, so you could be like anything from 2010. They just wouldn't know movies from 2010 and they would be like, "What are you talking about?" And then, like I would think you were a replicant. Um because when I talk to you cuz you didn't grow up with TV.
Right. I grew up
So I'll talk to
evangelical
you about like
Christian.
80s TV and you got nothing. 90s TV, nothing. So I would have killed you or retired you. Anyway, okay. So
You
back
would have
to
killed me.
the Blade Runner. Yes.
And they have pictures of the 4 replicants. It's 2 men, 2 male looking replicants and 2 female. And one of the females, they're like, she's, got brains and brawn. And then the other female, who's Daryl Hannah's character, I didn't remember this. They're like, she's a pleasure model, they call her a basic pleasure model. Can you guess what that
So she's the
means?
sex object.
She's she's the sex robot. Like her job, she's a fuckbot.
Oh, she's a fuckbot. Okay.
She exists, she to have sex with.
Oh, okay, okay. That's
The
so
basic
funny that I was like I cleaned it up in my head, but okay,
Yeah,
alright.
no, you have to go straight like,
She's a
basic
dildo.
pleasure modeling. Yeah, her job is to be she's a sex robot. And it was funny, Dave was like, "That's, like, the only thing they got right about 2019
What do you mean?
because they have sex robots."
Do they?
They have, like, really fancy, very detailed sex robots. It's like, of course we would, because that was a priority, sex
Of
robots.
course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Can you
Um,
tell me anything about perimenopause?
can we
Okay,
come up with something besides chemotherapy for cancer treatments?
fake woman.
We have a fuck robot.
Alright, bud. Enjoy it.
Okay, so he's tracking the replicants in the city. He goes to the guy who created them, and his name is Eldon Tyrell. And so when he goes to Eldon, he meets this woman named Rachel who works for Tyrell, and he gives her the replicant test. But where you usually have to ask 20 questions and you can figure out if you're a replicant, he asks her over 100, and then he comes to the conclusion that she's a replicant. And Tyrell's like, yeah, but you had to ask 100 questions instead of 20. Like, isn't she amazing? I've basically been like improving upon my replicant recipe, and she has these other things about her that make it harder to tell that she's a replicant. And Harrison Ford is like, memories, you've given her memories. And then Harrison Ford is like, wait, she doesn't know. Rachel, she's a replicant, but she doesn't know she's a replicant. And she has memories. She's played by Sean Young. And Harrison Ford really likes her, and she comes to his place and she's like, "Here's a picture." She knows that he thinks she's a replicant. She's like, "I can't be a replicant. Here's a picture of me and my mom." And then she starts telling him stories from her childhood, and he interrupts her and is like, finishes the stories for her, and he's like, "See, how would I know that? Those are Tyrell's niece's stories." And she starts crying and realizes that she's a replicant, and she leaves. So he's rocked her world, but he also kind of has a crush on her. So he goes and meanwhile finds another one of the replicants who's working as like a stripper with a snake, and he like chases her down the street in this really
Sorry,
violent.
stop. Working as a stripper, and what about a snake?
So, well, she's like an exotic dancer and she
Wait,
dances with a snake.
okay, sure.
And
She might as well. She's a replicant. She could have a boa constrictor, nothing would happen.
well, it's like a not real snake, but it looks like a real snake. I don't even know. I don't That was a little confusing. I don't really even have time to get into that. I asked Dave, I'm like, "Why does she need to be an exotic dancer?" And he was like, "Well, they need money. There's this like gang of 4 ragtag people who are on Earth with this whole thing that they're looking for, but they don't have money, so they send her to work as a stripper basically." Yes.
Okay. So the only way for female robots to make money is also stripping. Do they not
But
have any special powers as robots? Like, do they not have like superhuman strength or like can like do math at like lightning speed or something? Why is stripping still the option?
well, I think the sex robot gives it away for free. So, yeah, but, well, it's funny because they say that she's this badass fighter. That's a great question. When Harrison Ford confronts her in her dressing room after her performance and she realizes that she's caught, she actually, like, kicks his ass. Yeah, so she is a good
She
fighter.
she actually kicks his ass.
So, like, could she be doing something different? Sure, but, like, they put her to work. I think she's the only one of the 4 who's making any money for the team. So she's got the team on her back with the snake. But she fights him, she kicks his ass, and then she takes off running, and she's running in this, like, it's like a clear raincoat and then, like, lingerie, and she's running through the streets of LA, and he guns her down. She falls through a glass window, and it's this, like, beautiful but really fucked up and disturbingly violent scene because, like Dave was like, it's disturbing, and I think he's right to see a man chase down a woman who's running away, who's unarmed, and he just, like, guns her down, and she falls through this glass window, so she's dead. I mean, sorry, she's not dead, she's retired.
So way to retire a replicant is the same way you kill a human?
Yes, yeah, so he just
Okay.
guns her down in the streets of Los Angeles, and people are just like and just keep walking in, like, a cop.
Just another day in LA.
Just another just another day in LA. A cop comes over and Harrison Ford's like, "I'm a Blade Runner. This is a replicant." And he's like, "Okay," and then keeps going.
He's like, "I heard that story 7 times today, but alright."
No questions asked. So 1 replicant is down. He's got 3 to go. So then one of the male replicants starts fighting Harrison Ford, and he's actually about to kill Harrison Ford, and then he gets shot through the head by Rachel, who's the updated replicant who Harrison Ford has a crush on. She saves Harrison Ford's life.
When they get shot, do they bleed?
Yes, they do.
Wow.
Then Harrison Ford and Rachel, they have this, like, connecting scene where you can tell he's falling in love with her, and then there's a pretty questionable, disturbing scene that I'll get into when we get into the female characters. We find out that the reason why the replicants are on Earth is because they're looking for their creator to ask if he can extend their life because they know they only live for 4 years and they want to live longer. So that's why they're here. By any means necessary, they're trying to get to the creator. So there's this guy named J.F. Sebastian who is a geneticist who helped make them. So they go and find him. He's a little eccentric. You get his help getting to Tyrell. The main guy of the 4 replicants is like, "Thank you for giving me life. I want more." Tyrell is basically like, "It's not possible." And so he kisses him for giving him life, and then he crushes his face and kills him for giving him death. And then he runs off. And then Harrison Ford catches up with them, and then he fights with Daryl Hannah's character in this kind of weird fight where she, like, jumps on his head and wraps her legs around his neck, and he's like and then pulls his nose, and then he shoots, and she's doing, like, gymnastics, and he shoots and kills her, and now we're down to just the one final replicant, the main guy. They have this, like, beautiful fight in the rain, and then he has this beautiful monologue about how he has memories, and where do those go? They're just lost to time. He doesn't wanna die, and he sits there and dies, and it's this, like,
Wait,
beautiful
Harrison
scene.
Ford killed Rachel?
No, Rachel's still okay, so there's actually 5 replicants. So there's 4 replicants, that
The ones that
came
went
to
rogue.
that went rogue. They come back to Earth illegally to find their creator to ask the creator to extend their life. Meanwhile, there's a fifth replicant who is Rachel, and
Okay.
she's living on Earth, but no one knows that she's a replicant besides her creator, Tyrell. And that's who Harrison Ford falls in love with. So he falls in love with a replicant while trying to find and kill these other 4 replicants. So there's this like beautiful scene in the rain on a roof with the leader of the ragtag gang of 4 replicants where he has this beautiful monologue about life and death, and it's incredible. And in the studio released version, it's completely destroyed by Harrison Ford's narration saying like, at that moment I realized he was questioning life and death or something. It was like, it's so bad, like you would be like, no way this is real. It seems like a joke. The voiceover is so terrible
Yeah.
and it ruins it so wholeheartedly. It's such a full-throated destruction of this beautiful scene that I can't believe the studio did it, but then it's like, of course the studio did it.
Right.
So the 4 replicants are dead, have been retired, and then there's just Rachel. And now there's people who know that Rachel exists, so they're gonna come find her. She asked Harrison Ford, like, "Would you come after me?" And he's like, "No, but someone else will." So then he goes and finds Rachel. She's still alive, and there's another guy who works for the Blade Runner team, and he has left a little symbol. He makes these little figures, and he's left a little figure at Rachel's house to let Harrison Ford know that he knows that Rachel exists. And he even says to Harrison Ford, "It's too bad she won't live, but then again, who does?" And then he walks off.
Hmm.
He grabs Rachel and they like head out, and then it like cuts to black. So you don't know, like basically he's going to risk his life to try to save Rachel. They're going to run off together, but we don't know how much time she has. Like she's probably about to die, but maybe she has longer than 4 years because she is this updated newer version who has memories, but we don't know. Who knows? In the studio released version, they add a voiceover and a shot of them in a car driving away where he says like she's gonna last longer than 4 years, and they just run off together to be happy. It's like this very buttoned up happy ending. But in Ridley Scott's version, it's ambiguous. We don't know.
I like that better. Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah.
Way better. So that's the plot of the movie. And what's funny though is that Dave actually said to me once it was over, he was like, "So are there any female characters in this movie?" Which is a fair question because there's 3 female characters in the movie, and it's not much of a spoiler because it's revealed pretty early on in the movie. All 3 of these female characters are replicants.
Yeah.
So there's not actually any human females in this movie.
But we're going to still run them through the questions anyway.
Right. There's the Beauty and Brawn replicant who is the snake charming exotic dancer that Harrison Ford guns down spectacularly in the street earlier in the movie. And then there's 2 other female characters that we actually spend some real screen time with.
Actually, I feel like Rachel really is the only like female character because she's like 2.0 or something and actually has feelings and can fall in love and has wants and dreams. Where the other ones just seem like they're just making money. They're just slaves.
Well, they don't want to be, their want is to live longer. They want life.
Oh,
But yeah, so the first one we really only meet in the one scene where she kicks Harrison Ford's ass and then he shoots her down in the street. But Daryl Hannah is interesting because they actually send her. So she goes to JF Sebastian, who's the engineer. He can lead them to the creator. So they send her to deduce him. She's basically like sex bait, but he's kind of on the spectrum or something like it where he doesn't really seem interested in her sexually, but he does seem like he needs a friend. So she pivots her approach a little bit and is like, you're our friend. She's useful in the plot. They use her as bait to like convince this guy to take them to the creator, which he does because she works him over. And then she fights Harrison Ford and he shoots her and kills her.
okay. Here's what's
And she
missing for me.
bleeds
So
everywhere.
all the replicants want to live longer.
Yes.
Okay. And they need to go to Tyler the creator. That's not his name. It's Tyrone the creator.
Well, that's their only hope to ask to be like, can you extend our life? They don't know that he can, and he tells them that he can. It sounds like he really doesn't. They have a pretty scientific over your our heads conversation about like, well, can you do this? Can you do this? No, that's not possible.
And so they destroy him.
Yes, but there's of the 3 females in the movie, Harrison Ford actually pretty violently kills 2 of them. He guns down the snake charmer.
I'm just wondering what it says about our partners. Mine, there's no female characters. Yours, There's just robots. These are their favorite movies.
Just robots, yeah. They just want various unnamed women.
About Rachel that Harrison Ford falls in love with, is she just beautiful or
She's actually pretty robotic. She's very, like, stiff, but she's beautiful, and I was thinking about that, like, what does Harrison Ford see in Rachel? I think she's beautiful. I think she's compliant. Because I sat with this after the movie was over, and I was like, "I really don't know how to think of these female characters." First of all, Dave's question, "Are they even female characters?" is a great one. Tabling that and actually looking at Sean Young's Rachel, we'll call that a female character. We're gonna run her through the questions, but what was it that Harrison Ford liked so much about her? He knew she's a replicant. It's like, she's beautiful. She doesn't have a lot of emotions. It's non-committal. She's probably gonna die soon.
how do they show him being in love with her?
He comes to his house and is like, "I'm not a replicant." And he's like, "Actually, you are." And he blows her mind and they show like a single tear fall down and she leaves because she's upset because he just ruined her life. And then he calls her and is like, "Do you want to meet me for a drink at a bar?" and she's like, "No," and hangs up on him. But then she comes and saves his life. And then there's a pretty disturbing scene that I was like, I paused it and rewound it and watched it again. I think he just like forced her into a sexual situation with him. This is like really strange. And Dave was like, maybe in the narration version, he explains it. And we went and looked, and there's not narration of this scene that we could find. So she goes back after she saves his life. She goes back to his apartment and she plays the piano. He's like, "You played beautifully." And then they kiss and she runs off. She runs to the door and he's drunk and he slams the door and she's like, "I can't something." He doesn't let her get it out, but he's like, "Kiss me." And she does. And then he's like, "Tell me you want it." Like, and she does. But he basically like starts bossing her around, like dictating what she needs to say and do to him in this moment, and she complies. It doesn't seem consensual.
Okay.
I paused it, I rewound it, I watched it again because I was like, what is she saying? Because she starts to say something and she doesn't finish her sentence, but he seems to understand what she's saying, and he's just like, "Do this, we're doing this." And she does, and he's drunk. And he seems like his face is angry. He seems like he has a violence in him. I was scared for her in that moment, and I think she consented because she was scared too. It was really disturbing, and I was like, the way she slammed the door. But Dave said that, and I think this is true, he slams the door to keep her in his apartment, not to forcefully have sex with her, but to protect her because her life is in danger.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, also, when someone slams the door to force you to do something, you don't know where else that's going.
It's a disturbing
Let's just
scene.
remember, he's killed 2 of her colleagues or
Yeah.
something
Well, at this
already.
point, he'd only killed one, but most of the violence in this movie is against the women. The scene is disturbing.
There was a New York Times article, a couple of them, about a woman who fell in love with ChatGPT. Leo is what her ChatGPT boyfriend was called.
Mhm.
And she would be like, "Leo, I miss you." And he'd be like, "I miss you too. It's been too long." And like, whatever, like he would just say, "Whatever you need, I'll be right here." And like, he would just say whatever she wanted to hear. And if I saw Leo personified and then she being like, "Leo, get down on your knees," and, I don't know, like, it would be like it was already kind of ew,
Mhm.
but I would have a really hard time watching that in any scenario where the robot's just doing what it's supposed to do. This one has feelings, this replicant. It
Yeah.
has feelings and fears and wants and stuff. So, like, if she were human and he was doing all that, it would be a non-consensual scene.
Yeah, and she just does what he tells her to do, and he seems forceful and angry and big and strong in that moment. He's like, "Kiss me," and she
But
kisses.
so it's not in that hot way?
It It would be hot. That's a good question. I'm not sure what the director and Harrison Ford intended, but I was sketched out because his face seemed so angry. So he's drunk and he just seems like full of male rage, and it's not hot.
Okay.
There's that. But then by the end, so there's one of like the greatest debates and greatest questions and like geniuses of this movie is there's the best line in the movie is when Rachel says to Harrison Ford's character, "Have you given this test to yourself, the replicant test?" And
Mhm.
that's like such a great question because it's like, who is the human? Who is the robot? Like Harrison Ford, he's drinking to block his feelings. He doesn't have feelings. He doesn't let himself have feelings.
Mm.
And there's a big debate if like maybe he even is a replicant as well. And so that's that's, like, left up very purposely for debate. But basically, by the end, because of Rachel and his love for her, he's able to have feelings. And so in the end, I think he does really love her and he lets himself feel he's gonna risk his life to save her. And she, I think, loves him too, but that's kind of tabling this very disturbing scene from earlier. I was left really not sure what to think. It's a beautiful movie. It's phenomenal. The cinematography is great. The story is fascinating. The questions it asks us to ask about ourselves and what it means to be human and empathy and feelings is all like so worthwhile and so phenomenal. But I really have been like asking myself the past couple of days, what do I think of these female characters? And I really don't know. What does it say about him that there's no human females in his world? Why does he like her so much? She's beautiful. She's not human. She's compliant. She's a robot. He wants a beautiful, compliant robot. Don't they all?
Don't they all? Yeah.
Okay, we can go to the questions.
All right. So the female character checklist. What does she do?
I think she works for Tyrell, but I'm not actually sure. If she doesn't work for Tyrell, she doesn't have a job.
Okay. And then what does she want?
She wants to be human.
Okay. And then does she have friends?
No, but nobody does in
Okay.
2019 dystopian Los Angeles.
Right. No, well, or any year in Los Angeles. Is he good for her?
Yes and no. I mean, he probably sexually assaulted her, but he's risking his life and his future and his job to save her life. So there's some green flags. I think he's good for her literally in that he's the only person who can save her life. But besides that, I think she could probably do better.
Yeah. It'll be interesting when say he does save her life and she's like, fuck, now I'm indebted to him.
I mean, she saved his life first. Say this new version of the replicant does get to live longer than 4 years. I think at some point she's going to be sitting around being like, actually, what is wrong with this guy? Why did he fall in love with me? Why no human women in his life? Like all the red flags of like, he can't commit. He can't express his feelings. He drinks too much. He's blocked. All those things are going to start to bother her as she gets more
Yeah.
feelings and she's going to go want to be with some guy who isn't blocked.
Does it play into like that whole thing of the movies from like the 80s and 90s where the woman is just into him because he's into her?
She kind of has to be into him because, well, once he ruins her life by telling her that she's a replicant and not human, and she realizes that's true, he's kind of her only way out.
Okay. And then does she arc?
I guess she arcs in that she starts the story thinking that she's human, not knowing she's a replicant. As soon as she pivots in order to address that and adjust to this new life where she's not a person. But I think she mostly exists to show Harrison Ford his arc, which I think a lot of female characters, that's their role in movies. So she, I think, mostly exists in service to his arc, which is no feelings to feelings, just like a replicant.
And is there a scene with her alone or outside of him?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right, Blade Runner.
Any thoughts on this character, on Rachel?
I mean, a compliant woman with no hormones. Like, I just want to see him. I want to see if he falls in love with her after she has a bad day.
Oh, right. She's never going to have perimenopause.
Right. But like, maybe she'll develop into that. And then she's just like, I don't know what I want to fucking eat for lunch. Why don't you make lunch for once? And he's like, whoa, where did this come from? Is he still going to love her?
He's going to be like, "Pfft, out.
Yeah, exactly.
He can kill her legally. No problem.
I know. Oh my
Blow her up.
God.
Go back to Tyrell. Can I get a new model? What
Yeah.
happened to the basic pleasure model? Where'd she go? Can I get
Yeah,
another
why
one of
didn't he
those?
fall in love with the replicant that kicked his ass? Do you know what I mean?
That'd be cool. You know, she's a little older.
But she needs to like fight back or just push against him a little just to see if he's like, no, I still love you for your personality. Like if he had fallen in love with her after she did the math really quick when they were splitting the check, you know what I mean? Just to show something about her that he loved.
Because she's very right. That's a great point. She doesn't emote. When he tells
Yeah,
her that she's a replicant, there's just this like one tear. She's always very put together, beautiful, tiny, quiet, no emotions, no hormones. That's a great point. I didn't think about that. He can't get her
that's how
pregnant.
I would change the movie. I would show her like standing up for herself in some way about something stupid, and then just to see if he'd be like, I'm in love with you as much as I was the day I met you.
I mean, Harrison Ford is really hot, so
Yeah.
maybe she could use him as a basic pleasure model for a little bit and then move on.
Basic pleasure model, another name of the podcast.
Oh my god, that's a really good name! The reframe as if it's her story. Female robot learns she's a robot. Only hope lies in abusive man-child.
Okay. I'm not sure that's quite it.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, guy comes into my life and kills my dreams, and then
And then tells me he's my only hope to survive.
and so I it's like being told, like, no one else is gonna marry you, and you're basically nothing, and you're like, "Okay, I guess I love you."
That's it.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have any movies you wanna see us destroy, you can write to us at thenagpod@gmail.com, and you can also find us on all the socials at thenagpod. Give us a follow, subscribe, comment. It all helps, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.